Hey everyone, this is DJ.
And this is Ish.
And this is
Season 7 of Pero Let Me Tell You.
¿Tú sabes que tengo ganas de comer?
I'm gonna go with chuleta.
Brisket.
But like just a brisket, así, like pelado.
Brisket with blue cheese.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah. I mean, well, I'm not surprised about the blue cheese part.
I mean, listen, I've always said there may be people that love blue cheese as much as I do, but there is no mere mortal that likes blue cheese more than me. Because...
Not even the folks at Hidden Valley Ranch?
That's ranch.
Yeah, but they have like a blue cheese dressing, I'm sure.
No, they don't. It's ranch.
They have dressings.
It's not the same. Welcome, everybody, to episode 307 of Pero Let Me Tell You.
He came back refreshed from Europe and gets the numbers right.
Well, I mean, give me...
A couple more.
When we're in the 320s, I'm not going to know where the hell we are. I'm going to be like me in Italy a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, but don't get us caught between two houses.
Which, by the way, we want to give a little shout out to one of our listeners, Ellie.
Okay, yes.
Ellie. So we have an amazing listener. A lot of you gave us feedback about my story about being stuck between two walls.
Apparently, they related. They could relate.
They did. But one of our listeners, like, she reached out to us and she left us a few like voice messages, and she was just having so much fun with this story and she was cracking up. And I have to tell you that was last Friday. Mm-hmm. And that last Friday, it's not that I was having a bad day, but I was like really I was really stressed out at the office. Like I wasn't like in the greatest mood, not anything bad, just not in the, one of those days. Yeah. And I started reading and listening to her messages and she completely changed my day. So, Ellie, thank you for being a Pero Prima and a listener. We've always said it. We love it when you guys reach out to us because, it gives us perspective of like how, we're Pero Primos and we're like a big family, and if we could just bring a smile to your day and laugh, then,
but look, sometimes they bring a smile to ours,
and
they return the favor.
They return the favor. But she was cracking up, and that just it made me so like that type of energy is like really you pass infectious. It along. Yeah, it is, and being stuck in two walls will do that.
I think that gives you perspective.
I love how I posted this week the video of me talking about that. I didn't realize
you had footage, by the way.
I had some footage. That was before the car got stuck.
Okay.
Because, obviously when the car got stuck, we were in a very precarious situation. Que ahí baja la cámara.
Yeah, you could have heard a pin drop, I'm sure.
But you saw in that video how narrow the street was.
And it sneaks up on you.
It does.
Yeah.
You're telling me?
No. Yes, clearly. No, but what I'm saying is like, I fully understand now, having seen it, how you can just be like going along. Because it's not like it goes from, 1,000 feet to
you're
3.
You're not on I-95 and you're not like going into a funnel and you're like...
Right. It's almost like it goes from 1,000 to 999 to 998 to 997, 996, and before you know it, right? Yeah. Before you know it, you're glad you took out the insurance.
I am. So, anyway, so there's a lot to talk about this week, but before we talk about anything else, a lot of people passed away last week, like famous people.
Well, even this week too. We just had Bob Newhart.
Yes, which I want to talk about him later. But Shannon Doherty, which I want to talk more about.
It started with Shelley
Duvall, which I mean, The Shining is my favorite movie. Hence the Overlook Hotel there. Yes. Behind me. If you see in our videos, you see some pictures behind me. One of them is of the Overlook Hotel. And I think Shelley Duvall's life was not the same after she did The Shining. For all reports say that she had a nervous breakdown shooting that movie.
Yeah, we know. We all saw it on film.
Yeah. But, he made her do, it's still to this day, the scene in The Shining where she attacks Jack with the baseball bat in the stairs. It was 140 times that they redid that scene.
Yeah, it's crazy amount.
It's like the
most takes.
The most takes a scene has ever taken, and like by far. It's not like the next scene that took us as much as it was like 2 takes less. It's
Right.
by far. And a lot of people say that she had like a nervous breakdown.
I believe it.
Which, I mean,
Pobrecita.
yeah. So she passed away, and
Then Dr. Ruth.
Dr. Ruth passed away. You know what? I want to tell you with Dr. Ruth, it was a little bit of Mandela syndrome.
Me too.
I thought Dr. Ruth had died.
I mean, she was doing great then in my world.
Oh, yeah.
Because I thought she would have been dead for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know where I know Dr. Ruth from?
I feel like it's from sitcoms.
Arsenio Hall.
Okay, that makes sense.
She used to be on the Arsenio Hall show for some reason several
she's
times.
awesome. That's why.
And again, Richard Simmons.
Yeah.
And
Shannon Doherty.
And Shannon Doherty. It was.
Lou Dobbs just passed away.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I think a couple hours ago.
Okay, well, there we go.
Yeah.
So it's like a 2016 all over again.
Seriously.
But this happened like in 1 week.
Yeah. No, it was a lot, and what I find fascinating about this is like again, I'm not trying to diminish other people, but you know how I feel about using this word willy nilly icon, right? Mm-hmm. But these are people who were iconic, right? These are people who, pop culturally speaking, are very much like emblazoned in our collective minds. And it kind of ties into something you and I have talked about several times on this show and also off mic, which is how we don't have, like, nowadays there's so many quote unquote famous people that like when I see one of these headlines on people that's like, TikToker so and so passes away, I'm like, I don't know who that is. I feel bad for their family, but I don't know who that is. And yet when you have a Dr. Ruth, when you have a Richard Simmons, a Shannen Doherty, these are people who you knew who they were. It didn't matter if they hadn't worked or been in the public eye for 10, 20, 15 years. You knew these people. They made a mark.
They really made a mark. Like Richard Simmons, pop culture wise, whether you liked him or not, whether you thought he was ridiculous or not. I mean, he was up there in the pop culture zeitgeist, if you will. And he was such a thing until very recently. I mean, he would just pop up in talk shows with, for no reason,
After he passed away, they've been putting clips. Did you see the one of him on Rosie O'Donnell where he comes in and just picks up Celine Dion?
No, but that's pretty
And just
awesome.
starts roaming the studio with
Because
Celine Dion
not,
in his
right?
arms, as one
not?
does. Yeah. Then there's another one with him picking up LaToya Jackson.
I have to say that LaToya Jackson. I have to say though that I don't know if the right word is surprised, but I wasn't maybe expecting for Shannen Doherty to get the amount of coverage that she's gotten, simply because Shannen Doherty is known for 90210 for Charmed, right, and I realize those are very pop culture and like
iconic
and like cult sort of following roles and shows, but she hadn't had a big sort of project in a while.
True.
A lot of people didn't know her in the last few years because of her cancer battle. But she has gotten, and I'm not complaining about it. I mean,
no,
rightfully so. She's gotten a lot of coverage, and
and love,
and love. Yeah, I mean, listen,
love. Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to hate on anybody who hates on somebody. Well, after they passed away, unless they were like a dictator or a horrible person,
right.
But it's not just coverage. She's got a lot of, and a lot of people, like when I've read the comments and stuff like that, it's like you were such an icon, and you were like, and I guess that for me, maybe because we were guys, and maybe because when 90210 came out, we were still really small,
like middle school.
Yeah, we were like 10 years old, like 9-10 years old when it came out. I mean, it lasted 10 years,
right?
So by the time it ended, we were, I think, in our late teens, 20s. But I do remember how big that show was, and it was big for a while. And I think that because we were too young, we were so young. I mean,
but I remember when she left the show, it was a big deal.
It was a big deal. No. I remember that she was like the biggest name on that show.
The breakout,
was Shannen Doherty
of the women anyway.
But I guess since we were not the demographic of that show. She didn't mean to us the same thing that maybe it meant to like young girls at that time and all that who grew up with her or saw themselves in her.
She meant more to me as Prue on Charmed because I was older,
right?
Than as Brenda, yeah.
So good. May they all rest in peace.
I'm sorry. Can we take a minute to talk about what a fucking badass Dr. Ruth was?
I don't know too much about Dr. Ruth other than when she was on Arsenio Hall.
Okay, Dr. Ruth, her father, okay, so she grew up in Germany. Mm-hmm. Her father was taken away to a concentration camp, never seen again.
Yeah. Oh.
Her mother and her aunt, I believe it was, sent her to a boarding school, an actual kindergarten, in like the Swiss Alps or something, like very Sound of Music.
Right.
She never saw them again. Her entire family was annihilated in the Holocaust.
Wow, I didn't know that about her.
Then she joined the military and became a sniper.
Dr. Ruth was a sniper?
Dr. Ruth was a sniper. She was a sniper, and then she eventually,
changed course.
Clearly, yeah. Well, it depends what you consider a sniper. And then she went down the route of sex therapy, and she started writing her books, and she started off as a local New York radio show, and eventually it just grew and grew and grew, and
she turned into Dr. Ruth.
She wrote books.
Wow.
There was a board game based on one of her books.
In Germany?
No, here.
Here?
Yeah. Like, I forget which of her books, like one of like her Dr. Ruth sex books.
Deutschland?
Well, no, it was in English. And they did, they did a board game out of it. And I'm just like, wow, this is a woman who died, I think it was 96 or something. You want to talk about a full life.
Yeah.
And she's also somebody who really brought modern sexuality into the pop culture. She took it out of the bedroom, so to speak, and made it something that people could feel comfortable at the very least to call in and talk about.
I think also because of the way she sounded and
she's
and
4'1",
right? Yeah. It made it less intimidating,
right? But she was the right person for that role.
You know who would be great at like talking like about sex like that in a very tasteful and informative way? Nigella Lawson. Don't you think she is incredibly like seductive?
But see, I think seductive is the wrong person.
Or sensual.
I think seductive and sensual is intimidating because people are asking you questions that you're a little scared about. So I think you need a folksy.
Aside from the fact that she uses a microwave.
Microwave.
I mean, guys, listeners, do you know Nigella Lawson?
Yes, she's an actual chef, right?
Yeah, she is, okay. And she's a British cook, and she had like really popular cooking shows in the early 2000s. She became a celebrity, one of these celebrity chefs after that. But the thing about her shows is that she didn't try to be sexy. It was just the way. Yeah. It's just she is like a sexy woman.
She's not. Yeah, it's not an act.
It's like watch me peel potatoes and watch me like peel carrots, and I'm like, wow.
Hey, stud, watch me peel a spud.
And you know what I think a lot of it is? Do you notice her show? She doesn't talk directly to the camera. It's sideways.
I never thought about
It's never frontal. It's never like front. It's always sideways.
So there's a little mystery.
Right? There's a little like she's looking to the side. Because that's how you steam your vegetables.
Like, is she talking to you or is she talking to someone else?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
It's a little bit of negging.
Right. But
Nigella the negger.
Anyway, so let's talk.
I wanted to bring up one thing though before, because I feel like there's a lot of heavy. I mean, we already started heavy, and we're probably going to go down that route as well. But I wanted to bring up
heavy like cream
that but nowhere near as delicious. That I think will tie into probably another topic. But it's based on we reposted Betty Pastelito's clip of
Calcomanía.
Of like calcomanía, all those words that are like,
isn't calcomanía a great word?
It is a great word, but all those like words that are in Spanish but they shouldn't be, and
whatever. Right.
So because of the events of the past couple days, I did not know what the Spanish word for sniper was, and I don't know that I agree.
What is it?
It's francotirador.
Sí, I've heard that francotirador.
I had never heard that before.
Yeah, I've heard it on the news.
I had never heard that before.
You know what I heard it a lot?
I don't watch Spanish
news. Do you
news.
remember like maybe 10 years ago there was a sniper?
The DC sniper?
The DC sniper. Oh yeah, remember that went on for a few months or
sometime?
Yeah. El francotirador.
I had never heard that word before.
Yeah, tirador Frank.
Yeah, like I don't like it. I don't think it doesn't make sense to me. We should change it. I don't know to what.
My favorite was that calcomanía. Because it's true. It's like instead of saying a sticker, say calcomanía.
That's too many syllables for a sticker.
Calcomanía.
Like, you're done peeling it and putting it on something by the time you're done saying.
Yeah. Betty's so good.
She's wonderful.
Betty is like a Miami treasure.
She really is.
I mean, I love her. She's been on the show.
Yeah, she guest hosted.
But she, like, her content, she's one of these people that she does content and it's like, oh yeah, we do that.
I think it's the observation that only a teacher can bring to the table.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I remember like the feeling, like, you know, because I have a really good memory, being in French class in high school, and my French teacher also taught Spanish. And I remember we were learning how to conjugate, and you conjugate in French the same way you conjugate in Spanish.
Oh, okay.
And I said something like, oh, la typeadora. And she was like, what? And I'm like, la typeadora? And she's like, and how, ¿cómo es el verbo de eso? I'm like, typear.
Duh.
And she was like, that's not a word. And I'm like, what do you mean typeadora is not a word? It's máquina de escribir. I'm like, who the heck says máquina de escribir?
It's too long.
And you know what the actual verb is?
Maquinar, right?
Maquinografiar. Maquinografía. And I'm like, who uses this?
I know, it's too long.
I'm like, you know, this was like 20 some years ago, but I'm like, yeah, Miami dialect here. Like,
Yeah, no, not
like,
at all.
I'm like, wait a minute, typeadora is not a word. You know how people are like, what's the word? Irregardless.
Regardless of
Irregardless is not a word. My moment was with typeadora. I'm like, typeadora is not a word.
Well, that happened to me when I was younger with vacuum cleaner.
A vacuum cleaner.
Vacuum cleaner. Like,
Right.
I had never in my word heard aspiradora.
Yeah.
Which that doesn't sound like a vacuum cleaner. That sounds like somebody who has ambitions.
I mean, listen. I thought for many years that in Spanish, I actually thought that the formal name was frigerade.
That was like the proper.
That was the proper name.
Right.
That we just used to say refrigerador as slang. That was frigerade. The proper
great.
name. I'm like, oh, it's Frigidaire.
Oh. Well, it is a proper name.
Did anyone in your family call it frigerade?
Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody calls it frigerade.
And detergent is fa.
Fa.
Yeah, I guess Fab was bigger in Cuba than it is in the United States.
Yeah,
because Fab, like, I mean, I have a good memory, and I don't remember Fab detergent ever being bigger than like Tide or
Downy
or whatever other detergent.
The only one that came close, but no, because it's not a detergent, is El Osito. But El Osito was.
You know what? I have to tell you, detergent is one of those things that snuck up on me.
What do you even? Okay.
Because I remember as a kid never thinking about detergent. I mean, why would I think about detergent?
Right, why would
and
you?
I remember when I became an adult and I actually started buying detergent on my own, I'm like, why is this $14 for a bottle?
Oh yeah. Oh, it's ridiculous.
Like, why is Tide $14? Like, what? Isn't this like $3? Like,
yeah, detergent. You know, for me, it's detergent and toilet paper. To me, are like the biggest waste of money.
Yes. That's why you need to get yourself a bidet. Save the environment.
Save the environment and save money.
But yeah, detergent is one of those things that as a kid you never ever think about in terms of pricing. You know how much it costs.
Why would you? Yeah,
I'll never forget. Like the first time I bought detergent, I think it was in Myers in Michigan. I was like, "What?"
Oh, and trash bags. Trash bags are another stupid thing I hate buying.
Yeah,
I'm literally buying you to throw you away.
Que carísimo el aluminio. Especially Reynolds brand.
I know. Well, I don't buy brand name.
No, but you know, when you go look at Reynolds brand, it's like, I'm not buying real aluminum here. Like, I'm buying aluminum to build a car. I just want to cover a casserole. Like, why?
Esto para cubrir dos platos en el barbecue.
Like, why? Why is this $7?
Las cosas están carísimas. Carísimas están las cosas.
That's why growing up, my mama siempre compraba Pep Plus.
Oh, that makes sense.
Pert Plus.
Yeah.
Because it's shampoo and conditioner.
2 for 1, baby.
2 for 1.
That's the ultimate BOGO.
Y te dejaba el pelo riquísimo.
Sí, total.
That was the scent of the 90s. You know,
really was.
It was. I always told you the shampoos of the late 80s and 90s were Pert Plus, Finesse. In like the mid to late 90s, it was then Herbal Essence.
Oh, ese es del orgasmo.
Yeah, Herbal Essence and Salon Selectives.
Oh, I had totally forgotten about Salon Selectives.
Yeah.
Salon Selectives.
Yeah.
Aww.
Tide snuck up on me.
It'll do that to you. The Tide will sneak up on you.
Cleaning products are so expensive.
Mira, you probably will tell me, no, girl, you can get the cleaning products at Dollar Tree. And you know what? At the end of the day, soap is soap and bleach is bleach.
Yes.
Y te va a salir más barato.
True. But, you know,
I'm just saying.
the Dollar Tree has also the small ones, which it's like, okay, what? Am I really saving money here?
I guess it depends. Like, again, I'm...
Oh, which, by the way...
I'm a one-person household.
Did you hear they're going up to 150?
I think I had heard something about that. I know they already have a section that's like, they call it, what is it they call it? Like Dollar Tree Select or something, where like it's up to $5.
Yeah.
But that's only like a little selection, you know, little aisle. Yeah.
It's a fancy aisle.
That's the fancy aisle.
That's where you
Dollar
go
Tree.
break the bank.
That's the Dollar Orchard.
Tú sabes que también es carísimo la pasta de diente. And deodorant. Have you seen how expensive deodorant is?
Deodorant's like $7.
Yes, for deodorant.
Pa ponérmelo bajo el sobaco.
And I mean, I know that there's inflation now and all that, but I mean, these are things that have always been expensive.
Expensive relative to what we use it for.
Yes.
Yes.
And, you know, deodorant is something you can't buy the cheap ones porque si no te da picazón bajo.
No. That is a case where lo barato sale caro.
Sí, y después y coges ampolla in your armpits and then you smell bad.
No, y pesta grajo del
That's
grajo.
another great word.
What?
Ampolla.
Okay, ampolla in English is blister. What's grajo?
BO, body odor? No, but body odor is general. It's body odor.
Right, because nobody said it's like peste a grajo, which means it's smell of something.
Mm-hmm.
What is grajo?
That's true. You know what I thought about this week? I think you and I have talked about this before. You know how you say that thing, you could be overwhelmed and underwhelmed, and you're like, why aren't people just whelmed?
Right.
Something that we use a lot is this is overrated, this person is overrated, or this person is underrated. Nothing is ever just rated.
Aside from the MPAA movies.
Yeah. I just think that we should start that, right? If something is just good enough, it's rated.
It's rated. It's rated. And I'm whelmed about it.
Oh, did you see that new show? Yeah.
Yeah, it was rated.
It was rated.
It was rated. Left me feeling a little whelmed.
It wasn't over, it was under. It was just rated.
Just rated. It's just right down the middle.
Where did that even come from? Underrated and overrated, but nothing's rated.
Okay, I'm having a think right now.
I mean,
I'm like, yeah, no.
Do you know where that came from?
I don't think they do. But if they do, you know that they will now, especially after we said that we listened to the voice messages and our DMs, we will know.
It could be middle rated, mid rated.
No.
There's mid grade gas.
Is that rated gas?
I don't know where we're going here. I don't know.
You know what? I think we're headed toward those two houses. We're about to get stuck.
The train has gotten derailed into the two houses.
Let's reverse.
Okay. Anyway, something that, I mean, it's the elephant in the room. We're going to talk about it. You know, I have said several times before that we've shied away about talking about politics. I mean, as we've said before, there's a million places where you can talk about politics.
Better qualified.
Our listeners don't necessarily tune in for our political opinions.
And I think we can all agree that it's just overwhelming.
Yeah. So obviously, I mean, I think that, you know, what happened this week with former President Trump being shot at, I mean, I think that this is an event that no matter where you are on the political landscape or what side you're on, this was not the best moment for America. And when I really heard about this and got the story, because obviously, like any breaking news story, at first you're like, what happened? There was a shot, there was a this, there was a that. But when the when the dust finally settled, and you know, it was in fact. There was a sniper, and
un francotirador,
and he shot at him. You know, I mean, as I think that everybody here knows what my political leanings are, and know that I'm not a fan of President Trump. That's an understatement. But I mean, obviously,
it's not just a statement or an overstatement.
But obviously, I would never wish that upon him, right. And his family. And you know, I think that the attempt against him, it's just a very, very sad moment in our country that we are in a position where people that are elected officials or former elected officials or candidates are being shot at, and now their lives are potentially in danger. That is not where we want to be as a democracy and as a country. And I think it's very, very worrisome, and I think it's very shocking, and I really think that this should be a moment of reckoning. We have to take a moment and look back that the last several years, and I'm not saying this to point any fingers or blame anyone, it's just a conversation that we're having. We've seen things that are unprecedented, from the non-peaceful transfer of power to, our elections, people not having faith in our elections, to now, the former president being shot. This is not where we want to be as a country. And it's very worrisome, because this is why I always say you need to know history, because history repeats itself. You have to be a student of history. When you study history and you study the great empires of the world, and all, whether it was an empire or a country or a civilization, whatever, all these entities and empires that have fallen from within. Mm-hmm. That's what history tells us. And the way that we are going as a country with this division and this hate and this just not wanting to accept other people that think differently of you than you, this is not where we want to be. And I've talked about it here. I work in politics in part, and I've been the front lines in politics. I've been the front line in elections. I've been on, what they call the
last
field
election
for several election cycles, including the last presidential cycle. I've seen firsthand the division, and I've seen people arguing, and I've seen people at each other's throats. We, as a democracy, cannot live in a state or in a country where we see our political opponent as an enemy. We cannot. I can disagree with you. I can think you're full of crap. I can think that everything you're saying makes no sense to me, and that's okay. But what I cannot do is see you as my enemy and you see me as your enemy. We cannot do that, because the moment you start doing that, that is what will eventually kill our democracy and kill our country and our way of living. Tribalism is a really, really toxic and deadly place to be. And that's where we are right now. I think that every single American should have been outraged and saddened that this is where we are. And that somebody who's a former president and somebody who's running for president now was shot at. So many times as Americans, we have
someone was killed as a result.
And somebody was killed as a result.
Let's not lose sight of the casualties.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, in we have an era of American exceptionalism, right? Mm-hmm. We look at other countries, how political opponents are killed and candidates are shot, and there's turmoil in elections, and we sort of look down on that.
That would never happen here.
That will never happen in the United States. Well, that's where we are. And people really need to take a step back. I mean, I'm being very careful. I'm not pointing any fingers at anybody. I'm not saying one side, this side. Again, everybody knows where I stand politically. But I refuse to see somebody who I disagree with, who I don't have the same values as my enemy. Because you know what? If that is what we're going to do, half of the country thinks differently from the other half. Is that really a country you want to live in, where you disagree and you see as your enemy as half of the population? There's almost 370 million people here. That's not a good place to be at. So I think that we need to, as a collective, everybody needs to tone it down, stop being on social media and using social media
as a news source. I mean, it's no secret. It is no secret that social media put the worst comment on top to create engagement. This is not a secret. This is well known. And that there's bots who do this, who do things and comments to incite people and incite, violence, if you will, in comment sections. Everybody is falling victim and prey to that. And we need to stop doing that. Again, that doesn't mean that you can't
fight for your values, fight for what you think is right, call out the other side and say, hey,
disagree.
Hey, this is not cool. This is not what you're doing. You're denying my rights. You're denying me as a human being. This is not, fair. This is not right. That doesn't mean you can't do that. That is the essence of our democracy, right? To disagree and to defend what you believe in and defend your values and call out the other side, for things that they're doing against your values or against people, certain groups of people. But we cannot see people that we disagree with as our enemies. And if we continue to do this, more things like this, unfortunately, are going to happen. And this is not where we want to be. It's a very, very, very dark and terrible road we're going to. So I urge people to really take a step back, continue fighting for what you believe in, but take a step back, lower the temperature. Don't see people that you disagree with as your enemy, and just tone it down, because this is not good. This is not good. This has not happened. I mean, the last time there was an attempt on a president. Well, it was President Reagan in the 80s, and he was a standing president at the time. But I mean, this is not. It's not uncharted territory, because this has happened before in American history, but it's something that hasn't happened in a very long time. And this happened because of the temperature and where we're at. So that's kind of my rant on that. I think I was very fair.
Well, you were fair, and I wanted to bring something up because it's funny. I listened to Conan O'Brien's podcast, and he records these interviews with celebrities ahead of time. So what I'm about to bring up was it aired this week, but it was probably recorded like 3 months ago.
Right.
But he was talking to Rashida Jones, and they did bring up, I think they were talking about religion and creating content and whatever. And Conan was saying how, like, obviously since the dawn of time, people have appreciated or enjoyed a certain degree of conflict, which is why, just think about like stories and novels and movies. Like, we have, there has to be a central conflict, right? Mm-hmm. I'm using the broadest term of conflict, right? But what he said was, it seems more and more with what you're saying, the social media, and I always bring back to the 24-hour news cycle and tribalism and everything, that we appear to be losing sight of true conflict. Mm-hmm. Like we're almost going out of our way to fabricate additional layers of things to be pissed about.
Oh, absolutely.
And I will use the assassination attempt as the perfect example, right? Here's something that happened, right? It happened live on TV because they were covering his visit. Yeah. So it's not even a situation where, like, oh, okay, it happened behind closed doors and we don't know. We saw, quote unquote, it was happening live, and you saw what happened and this and that. Literally before it had even finished, before we even had enough information, mm-hmm. Everybody from all sides was like, that was fake. That was an attempt by the left. That was this. That was that. That was that. Da 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 da. Mm-hmm. Like, and now we're all just gonna. And then all of a sudden, by the way, I never realized I knew this many blood spatter professionals until this happened. Because now everybody's like, well, if you get clipped in the ear, there's no way that the blood would spatter up and not down and sideways and blah, blah, blah. It's like everybody.
They went to forensic Google Forensic University.
Even me that went to SVU. Okay, I wouldn't dare.
But your SVU training took years.
It did.
I mean, you weren't an expert after episode 1.
No, I mean, they're all about to start season 26.
I mean,
so it's been a while. And to me, when he said that on the podcast, it automatically made me think of what we're experiencing right now, which is, as opposed to the true conflict, right? Like, if you boil it down, what is a true conflict that happened? A former president was shot at. Mm-hmm. That's conflict enough, right? Like, there was someone who did this. You want to find out why, obviously, because we all want to know the why. That's just human nature, right? You want to find out the why, but you don't need to add. To your point, you don't need to add to the temperature. You don't need to start raising the temperature by saying that was staged, that was fake, that person wasn't the true. No, that's not the real sniper. That's not this. That's Fulano.
There were elected officials that 2 minutes later were saying that Biden ordered this.
Right.
I mean, those are very big words.
Right.
That Biden had ordered this.
Right.
I mean. And the thing is that because
and to what end?
The problem is that we've reached a point nowadays in political discourse. We've reached the point in political discourse where there is little accountability. right? There's little accountability. Not too long ago, if you're caught in a cheating scandal, you would have to resign.
Done.
Right? Nowadays, the more outrageous you are, the crazier you are, the more shocking things you say, the more likes you get, the more engagement you get, the more you rile up people.
Right.
And that's where we are now. So it's sort of like a contest of being, let me be as shocking as I can and say, the worst thing with little or no accountability.
A mí nadie me va a decir que Marjorie Taylor Greene believes half the shit she says.
Of course not.
But why does she do it? Because every time that woman opens her mouth, it's at least 6 talking heads show up to talk about, to dissect it. It goes on Twitter. People are engaging with it. It goes on Instagram.
I mean, look,
it gets a meme.
She's a representative of an area in Georgia that's not even that big in terms of weight. It's not like, I don't think that she's of like Atlanta, right?
Right.
And everybody in the country knows her.
Right. Why?
Because of that.
No, right. But like, why?
Yeah, because of that. So, and I think everybody is at fault. We all have a moment of reckoning, should have a moment of reckoning. And don't be so worried about your opponent. Be more worried about where you are in this and how you feel about it. Because we're always so like, the other people and all this. And that,
we always want a villain.
We always want a villain.
We always want a villain. I mean, and again, that goes back to what Conan, and Conan O'Brien is the voice of reason here, guys. That should worry us all. You want the structure, you want the conflict, so it's easier to have a villain.
I will never forget that in the 2020 election, obviously I was working for the Democrats, and I've said a lot of my stories here about the 2020 election. I think I still have a little PTSD about it.
His eyes twitching, ladies and gentlemen.
Because there was a lot. It was very overwhelming, especially the last 2 weeks. And I remember that I posted on Instagram a picture of me holding a Biden-Harris sign, and my cousin was next to me holding a Trump-Pence sign.
Right.
And, I'm very close to my cousin, and him and I disagree. And him and I have conversations about this, and we freaking, I remember during that time, him and I would work out together, and we would have these conversations during sets, between sets, and we would go at it and blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, we were fine with him. I clearly disagreed with him, and he disagreed with me.
But I've also heard conversations between the two of you where you're there for each other.
Yeah, him and I are very close, right? He's my family, right? And so I posted this picture on Instagram. It was on my stories of him and I next to each other holding, again, I was holding a Biden-Harris sign and he was holding a Trump-Pence sign. And I put something like, even though we disagree with each other, at the end of the day, we're family and we love each other. The amount of hate that I got
for a positive message. Essentially.
I can't love someone or accept someone who denies my me existing, or, how can you be around somebody who's homophobic, and how can you be around somebody who's racist? I'm like, but he's none of those things, right? Right? Because you could be, listen, I've always said it. I am the definition of a liberal. I have always identified as a liberal. I remember being a child, being 10 or 12 years old. I've always been interested in politics, and my whole family was Republican and conservative, and me thinking that's young of an age, you don't really understand the specifics of it, but just me being like, I don't know if I'm this, I'm something else. Right? I had a coming out of
a political coming out. Yes.
I've always been a liberal, but I'm the first one who will call shit on my side and be like, what is going on here? What is going on here? And you know what? Even though I am 100% liberal and it's very big a part of who I am, I don't have to agree with everything that people on my side say.
And that's the thing.
And I don't have to agree with everything that, elected officials say. Right. Sometimes I look at certain Democrats, I'm like, you're fucking full of shit. What do you mean, whatever. Right? And because I don't vote for, I don't become a fan of someone because I voted for them, right? I'm not going to have a picture of them on my wall. I'm not going to have a picture of them on my social media.
Right. That's what Mariah's for, damn it.
Right. There's just simply somebody I voted for, whatever.
And it's someone who in that moment, based on the options you were given, most closely aligned with the majority of what you want in a candidate.
Right. And
it doesn't mean they tick all the boxes.
And I've said it before. There have been elections where the Democrat did not, and I voted Republican. I've voted Republican a few times, right? Because at the end of the day, you're going to vote for somebody you have faith in, and somebody who you at the end of the day, who you think, and sometimes it's very circumstantial, right? Depending on what's going on at that moment in the country. It's very circumstantial. And I don't agree with everything in my party or in people that are liberals. Right. And that's the way it should be. You don't have to buy all the goods. You don't have to like all that. So when you hear people saying, "Oh, he must be this and he's really," no, he's none of that. I disagree with him. I think he's crazy for like thinking some of the things he thinks, but I'm not going to hate him either because I'm not. Right. There's other qualities and other things other than your political opinions. FYI.
Well, that's the thing is like politics for some people now, they think it's a personality.
Right.
They think political affiliation is a personality, and it's not.
Right. So, like, for example, me, that I have, like, I think the best parents in the world, and my parents are amazing. So I'm not going to talk to my parents because my parents are Trump voters and Republicans.
And remember,
so I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because we don't agree politically, and God knows we disagree, and God knows we've gone at it, right? Although we don't go at it anymore because for health reasons, it's better that we don't. But God knows we have, and God knows that I do a lot till this day of I'm gonna leave the room
because that's at some point you have to be the adult, right?
I'm gonna get up and walk away, and that's totally okay.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're still my parents, and I love you.
No, 100%. And a lot of times, also remember, and I was thinking about this actually earlier today. I think we're seeing a lot more lately of, and by lately I mean like maybe the last 10 years, not so much of a I'm voting for so-and-so. It's more of a I am not voting for so-and-so.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Politics now is retaliatory.
Right. So like, for instance, I think a lot of people who voted, and again, I'm making a wide swath of an assumption here. I think there was a big majority of people who, it's not so much that they voted for Trump the first time, it's that they were not going to vote for Hillary.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
So it's
politics is totally retaliatory.
More and more.
People don't run anymore on a platform. Remember when it was all about the platform? What is your platform? What is your platform? How are you going to pay for it? And what are you going to do? When was the last time you've heard that in politics? It's all about fear mongering now, which that has to do with what I was saying about the division and about you can't hate your opponent because it's about fear mongering. Right.
And you also have to remember that most people are not, I know people are going to freak out when I say this, most people are not binary in their beliefs. There's a lot, to your point of like, if you hate people who are different than you, you're going to hate half the country. Well, and not even, because there's somebody who, out of 10 points, might agree with you on 7.
Right.
So are those the other 3 that are the deal breaker over here?
Right,
but what if it's the other 4 over here?
Where we've gotten to politics, because I've told you this. I find myself many times in spaces that are liberal spaces where it's like, okay, I agree with you on 9 out of 10 things. Right. Oh, but I'm the problem? Because I disagree with you on one topic or on one point. Oh, but I'm the one who's this,
that makes you the devil.
Right. I'm this and I'm this and I'm that and I'm that because I don't agree with you on one of the 10 points, right?
Or 2, fuck it.
And like, I'm not going to live in an echo chamber. I have my opinions and I have my beliefs, and they don't all have to align, and that's fine. But we live, to use the word binary, we live in a moment right now where it has to be binary. You're either with us or against us, or you're either on this side or that side, and that's not the way the world is. That's not the
most
way
people.
But it's the loudest voices in the room.
Agree.
It's the loud on both sides.
Agree
on both sides. So we need to take a step back, people.
Yeah, we need to lower the temperature. Don't make me give you an ice bath.
And I give you both. I give us both a lot of credit that we are able to have this conversation in a very fair way and not go
because we're not insane
ballistic on one side or the other.
Because we're not insane. Yeah. That's the thing. And I think the biggest problem when you're talking about politics, at least the conversations of politics that get coverage, is you wind up just yelling and frothing at the mouth, regardless of what side you're on, and
Yeah.
you come off looking like a loon.
And again, it doesn't mean that you can't fight for for your values, because God knows there's a lot of things right now that I feel very strongly about.
Yeah.
Topics and issues and rights that I feel very, very, very strongly about. That you know me, I'm the professional protester.
Listen, you love a march.
I love a march.
You love a march all year
If
round.
you go to my garage, you could see a collection of signs that I've made for different things,
Yes.
right? I love me a good march and protest. And that is healthy. That is still good, right? But again, just because I don't have the same values as you, I'm not going to hate you.
Or you perceive I don't have the same values as you. Well, because you don't know, because you might be arguing with me about one thing,
Right.
and none of the other things, right?
Or
we may have more commonalities,
or we
and
have a lot of
disagree,
commonalities,
and
right?
disagree on certain things.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine if I were to find like a super like balls to the wall, like super MAGA Republican whose favorite show is Suits? I'm like, okay, come on, we're gonna go hang out. We're gonna go hang out.
I would turn that into Suits sequel. I mean,
Okay, I kind of want to do that now.
actually, I'm not only going to turn that into a sequel, I'm going to pitch it to Telemundo and call it Trajes.
Okay, I'll be like, okay, MAGA. So who's the best? Like, who's the best suitor? Like, who's the best character on Suits?
Right.
Come on, MAGA. Come on.
And maybe you'll even both agree it's Jessica.
Can you imagine if we both say it's Gina Torres? I'm like,
Stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened.
or if I find a MAGA person that like their favorite movie is like The Shining, I'll be like,
Yeah.
what?
While they're listening to Mariah.
Right? And then we can hang out and talk about cars. See how many things we have in common?
See, there's more things that unite us than divide us, people. There really, truly are.
Anyway,
That reminds me of a really quick. That reminds me of a clip of Mateo Lane, the comedian, was because he records all his stand-up acts, and he's talking and he's like, "Sir, you're straight, sir, right?" And he's like, "Because you look a little uncomfortable." It's like, "But sir, like for instance, what's your favorite? Who's your favorite like genre of music?" And he's like, "Country." And he's like, "Okay, who's your favorite country star?" And he's like, "Shania Twain." He's like, "Sir, you and I have more in common than you probably thought."
You know what? Obviously comedy is very subjective, and I think a lot of times with gay comedians, obviously gay comedians lean on the gay, right? And
right.
sometimes it's a little
Latino
bit like,
comedians lean on the Latin,
right? Sometimes
yeah.
a little like, oh my god, this joke again. It's like a rehash of the same thing, right? But I feel that happens to a lot of different
comedians in general, yeah.
Comedians in general that base their comedy on a certain thing, right? Like we love a good story of a chancleta, but it's like, oh my god, another comedian talking about the chancleta or the chancla. It's like, really?
Yeah.
And I feel that about gay comedy. But Mateo Lane is other level.
Oh, he's really funny.
Have you seen the series of when he goes to the Olive Garden?
I showed that to you.
You did no, but there's been more than one.
Oh, I saw. I saw that first one. Yeah. Which,
Like
Mateo, you have Mexican background. If you want to come by the show,
he does.
Yeah, his grandfather on his mother's side is Mexican.
So he's Mexican and Italian.
Yep. That's a lot of good food.
Oh my god, I know.
That is a lot of good food, my friend.
I'm just thinking about my culinary like adventure.
Are you still thinking about the carbonara?
I am. I can't wait to do it. And it's so funny because like next week, I'm having the Olympic
I was
viewing
gonna say
party.
it sucks.
I'm like, it's French. I can't do carbonara. And you know that I'm that person that I'm like, I'm not going to fuck it up. Like I'm going to be culturally and, culturally correct.
I mean, if
right?
not, what's the point?
Right? And no, there's a lot of French things that I want to cook. But I'm like, oh man, I really need to make carbonara. But ahora me estoy aguantando la boca,
That's true.
Me
That's
estoy
true.
aguantando la boca. I'm trying to be good.
Yes.
I'm trying to be good because here's a problem. When we do Pim Pam Pollo pop-ups, it goes to hell that day.
I know.
I mean, that day is
Thankfully, we're on our feet for like hours.
We are. We burn
it's
it.
a
But that
balance.
day, it's like we eat so much crap that day. And we're doing it at Mojo Donuts this week. So it involves donuts.
That's
So,
true. Because I was going to say, usually when we do it during the day, I feel like we eat less bad
Right.
than when it's at night because we have no more options.
Right. So it's Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Taco Bell. Taco Bell.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway. So
I miss her.
Something we have to talk about as well this week that happened was La Chusmeria that happened here in La Copa de America.
I have so many opinions.
Okay, so unless you were under a rock and you didn't know about what happened to Trump and La Copa America, give us a little setup where we were on, what was it, Sunday?
Sunday, yes, it was Sunday. Yeah, it was Sunday because because I was heading up to Wilton. Okay, so Sunday was the finals of Copa America. It was Colombia versus Argentina.
Who are you going for?
I really wasn't going for anybody.
I was going for. I'm sorry if we have Argentinian fans. I love me un churrasco, but I was going for Colombia.
I wasn't really going for anybody because I feel like I don't have a dog in the fight. Really, I'm that guy who's like.
So Darwin is Colombian.
Okay, so then I'll go for Colombia. All right, because I don't have any Argentinians that are close to me, so I'll go that route.
Do you know Betty is half Argentinian? You would never know that, but she is. Her dad is Argentinian.
Right, but Darwin's full Colombian, so I'm gonna go Colombia. So yeah, Colombia, Argentina, they're both very passionate about football, about soccer. So I mean, these are two countries that like when they play in their respective countries, anytime like the city just comes to a halt, right? Great. So it was the finals of the Copa America. It was here at the Hard Rock. I almost called it the Joe Robbie.
It is.
It's the Joe Robbie. I mean, let's call it what it is, Joe Robbie. There were people who were like, I mean, you want to talk? It was like a very, very smaller scale, more colorful version of January 6th. A more ethnic January 6th. So exactly. So they just started like basically storming the stadium in a way that like not only because okay, it's one thing to try to like get in through the little turnstile gates. It's not right, but that's one thing, right? That's one thing. Okay. They were basically like one would get in and then would go open the exit door so that a lot of people could file in. Then they started climbing like over the fences, like from the grass. And some of them even managed to, I guess, live out their Bruce Willis fantasies by getting into the air vents.
How did they do that?
They watched Die Hard too many times.
How did they hold them?
One too many times.
Those shits are made out of fiberglass.
But here's the thing, kids. These people, the majority of these people who were storming the castle, as it were, did not have tickets. Okay? But here's the kicker. Tickets for this thing are about $1,000 and up. And there are people in there who do have tickets, who are now arriving to their seats that they paid money for to find people who have walked through the air vent and, I don't know, rappelled down the side of, Mojo Donuts at Joe Robbie to get into their seats. So this entire thing was a massive shit show and a half. And the only thing I can think of is, number one, they should give these security guards those batons because a couple kneecaps would have stopped that problem immediately. But number two, we have World Cup next year.
Yeah, but I was actually reading that obviously there was a huge logistical breakdown here, to say the least.
Okay, pero coño.
But what I was reading was that the organizers of Copa Mundial, it's Latin American, and this is very...
It's CONCACAF, I think.
What happened here in Joe Robbie happens down there all the time.
That's just de rigueur. Yeah.
And Copa Mundial is a very different organization.
It's FIFA.
It's very different. There's different protocols set in place.
But soccer fans can get rowdy regardless.
I mean, I just think that it comes with the territory of soccer. I mean, there's people who die in soccer matches. I mean, look, I'm not going to shit on soccer because I don't dislike soccer. I'm not that American that hates soccer.
Right,
no,
right.
not at all. I don't get the obsessive fandom of it all because, like, for example, I love baseball. I love the Yankees. Even when I was at like my peak Yankee-dom, I wasn't going to break through security to go see, Derek Jeter play, right?
Same.
So I just think it's one of those things that it's like a little bit of groupthink mentality. Somebody saw somebody breaking in there. Like, okay, let's do it. Somebody saw going through the air conditioner vent. Okay, that seemed like a great idea, right?
I will say,
I mean, what were they gonna do? Do you want me to tell you really what I was thinking when all this was happening?
Like now what?
Yeah, this was on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
You know really what I was thinking? Do you remember el calor y la humedad que había el domingo? It was like other level, how hot and humid it was. I was like, what's to be in that stadium right now? With ese molote de gente. Which when you go to a concert or a game at Joe Robbie and everything is like, normal. It's like un molote de gente. So can you imagine now that things were out of control? El molote de gente there. How freaking sweat and humid and sticky all these freaking people are. And then going down those ramps. Because you know the thing with Joe Robbie, those huge exit ramps.
Oh, yes.
That usually after whatever event you're at, it's packed and you're like tired and you're sweaty. And it's like, oh my God, the ramps. I'm like, I'm glad to be in my air-conditioned home.
Yeah. I mean, although I'm sure it was more comfortable than the vent.
Yeah, the vent. Filled with fiberglass inside.
Yes.
Those people had un racarraco.
You know what? Me alegro.
So,
you know what upset me though about that scenario as well, and to tie it back to a little bit of what we were just talking about with the political discourse. Unfortunately, what I saw a lot of in the comments section of some of these, because again, as it's happening, I was literally like on 95 and I'm like, but what the fuck is going on? So I'm like scrolling, I'm saying, I saw a lot of, and it's one of those things where it's like, guys, you have to think bigger picture. And these people probably aren't from here. They probably, flew here to see the game or whatever. But now here's what the discourse became. I saw this on more than one occasion. Claro, si no respetan la frontera, que van a respetar la seguridad. Oh, look, that's the type of elemento. Oh, that's the type. And unfortunately,
you're completely talking about something else, right?
But unfortunately, then now that becomes something that people can point to and be like, you see, I told you.
Because something that happens, I wouldn't say it happens all the time, but there has been many times that after a certain team or something wins a championship, there is
goes crazy,
total like chaos on the streets with cars being turned over and stuff like that.
Right.
So that's one of those sort of moments or situation where people sort of lose their minds over an event, which again, that's no excuse whatsoever.
And it's always like,
but that's not behavior. That's not behavior that's not behavior that
is common
in one group more than another, and it's not behavior that we haven't seen before. We've seen that before with sports events, and it's stupid and it's dumb, but we've seen it many times before. Right. So
hockey fans go crazy.
So let's not pretend. Listen, have I told you the story of me in Vancouver?
Wait, I feel like you did.
Okay, this is a great story.
Okay, bring it.
We're talking about Canadians. Okay, so that's a big part of this story. Canadians, right? I love Canada. I was Canada adjacent for many years.
True.
And as I said, the 3 years whatever many birthdays I had up in the Midwest, for some reason on my birthday, I always went to Canada. I don't know why. I was always in Canada on my birthday. So I love me, Canada, our friendly neighbor of the North. And I love Canadians, but picture it.
Okay.
I'm in Vancouver.
I thought you were going to set it up like Sophia would. Picture it.
No, picture Vancouver, right?
Right.
Walking down the streets in downtown, it was either Saturday or Sunday. It was maybe, I don't know, it was already nighttime, but it wasn't too late. So it was maybe 8 o'clock or something. Right. And all of a sudden, but this was like all of a sudden, there was a massive rush and like sort of chaotic sort of wave of thousands of people that headed towards downtown and the streets. And within minutes, it was filled with people screaming. There were people climbing trees, hanging out on trees, people jumping on cars because the Canucks had won the Stanley Cup. Or I think they had won the Stanley Cup or won a division or something. They had won a championship.
Okay.
And these Canadians were out of control. Completely out of control. I mean, I remember looking, I'm like, how did they climb that tree? There were people on trees within minutes, like on trees and jumping on cars and running around. And these were Canadians. So if Canadians could go crazy over the Stanley Cup, I think any nationality can.
That's true. That's true. The world's most polite human beings.
God, that happens all over the world.
Exactly.
I mean,
no,
in Europe,
it does.
in freaking white Europe, these people lose their minds. Lose their minds over football.
I agree with it, but again, it's the first thing that I think of when these things happen, which is like, fuck the optics, and it's sad that I have to jump to that.
Right.
Because I know that we're not going to be judged the same way.
Oh, absolutely. And it's a terrible look for Miami.
It's a horrible look.
Because even if it's the fault of the organizers who are not from Miami, it happened in Miami. It's a terrible look for Miami.
Bottom line.
It's a terrible look for Miami.
Yeah. So the day after Lucy Lopez posted, she's like, I'm guessing the morning after meeting at Hard Rock didn't go that well today.
No. You don't want to be in that room.
No.
Something else that I sort of was like, what? I love Shakira. I'm a big Shakira fan, right? Shakira did the halftime show. Did you see it?
I didn't because I was out having drinks.
Have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay, so Shakira's halftime show was like, okay, I'm going to use the same mix and the same arrangement of my songs that I did for the Super Bowl. I'm still going to do that tongue thing. okay, and call it a day.
So she just basically did the same thing without J-Lo.
She did Hips Don't Lie
Uh-huh.
exactly the same as she did with the Super Bowl, the same mix.
I think that when you're going through divorce and, fighting tax evasion charges, you don't have time to learn new choreography.
Okay. You know what? Again, I like her, and I think she's a good performer. That halftime show was kind of like, eh. I mean, she even sang a song. She has a newer song. It's a couple of years old now. Te felicito.
Oh, yes.
Tú actúas. That song is so good.
Yeah.
Eso no me cabe duda. Y tu papel continúa, te queda bien ese show, te felicito que bien actúas.
Yes. Is that with Maluma? No.
No, that's with Raúl Alejandro. Yeah, I thought her halftime show was like, she was like, ay, tengo que hacer el show de halftime.
That's like a lord.
And I also was, again, love me Shakira. I also was like a little bit like, okay, but are we going to have an Argentinian singer?
Who would they have? I'm genuinely asking off the top of my head.
It's Ricardo Montaner, Argentino.
I know they're Venezuelan. I only know this because I know one of his nephews.
Okay. Why can't I think of any Argentinian?
This is what I'm saying. Like, I don't know.
They're out there.
Is Susana Jimenez around?
They're out there. Hola, Susana, te estamos llamando. Man, whoever gets that reference, man.
Like, I can't off the top of my head.
It's Argentino.
I can't think of an Argentine.
Now I really want to have a good empanada. You know I like Argentina. You know I do like Argentina empanadas the best.
Why?
They're not fried.
Oh, that's true.
They're baked.
That's true. They're baked.
Yes. And they usually have delicious ham and cheese inside. Yeah.
So Sandy Duncan can have it.
Why?
Don't you remember when she used
to Triscuit? It's baked, not fried. Yeah. It's wow. I hate the empanada that's like super fried and greasy con picadillo. But you know how I feel about
picadillo retains grease.
You know how I feel about picadillo.
No, I know, but let's put that aside. Picadillo retains grease like nothing else.
Can I ask you something? Is picadillo and ground beef the same thing? Because I don't think they're the same thing.
On paper, yes. In reality, no.
No.
They're not. No. It's like a layover in an escala.
Yeah. Because, mira that sometimes, although I'm not a fan of ground beef, I've made ground beef. Right. Y a mí no me queda como queda picadillo. I mean, I understand that like Cuban picadillo.
You're not making Cuban picadillo.
Way. I'm not making Cuban. You know how I feel about picadillo.
I don't like picadillo.
I don't like picadillo either. So this whole fight of picadillo, was or no? Right. I'm like, I don't care because I don't know. Digo grapes, raisins. I mean, I'm like, I don't care one way or another because I don't eat picadillo.
Pero para que tú veas, like, I love a meatloaf. I love a burger. I love meatballs. I love everything else that you can make out of ground beef, except for picadillo.
Right, because you don't like the Latin Cuban picadillo.
Yeah, it's not. I'll eat it like if it's there and es lo único que hay para comer. Bueno, me lo como. But
those are one of those things that after I turned 14, I took my power back. And I was like, I don't need to have picadillo ever again in my life. Just like I'm never having fricassé de pollo or cubano. I'm just not, and I haven't.
Wow, where's that one-man show about you taking back your power?
I did. I've told you this story.
No, I know.
I was 14. I remember I was 14. And I remember I used to, up to that point, I just had to eat everything they made in the house. I hated all of it. All of it. That's why I tell you that I love to cook. And I think that, like, now especially, that's a really big part of me. And I'm like fascinated by it, and I think I'm good at it. And as close as I was and am with my grandmother, I don't have stories of like, when I was a kid, I would watch my grandmother cook,
right?
Like Grandma's Kitchen, because I didn't like any of it. Like, there were certain things that she made that I think of fondly. Like, her flan was terrible, but it was my grandmother's flan. It had a whole bunch of bubbles in it. And it was like, but it was my grandmother's flan. I like it when ella me hacía bistec empanizado con la cebollita and the white rice. That was, that was good. But I don't have those memories because I didn't like any of the food. None of it. And my grandmother cooked every single day.
Oh, I know.
And she did the classic dishes, but I don't like any of it. I don't like any of it. So I'm like, I don't really remember, grandma's picadillo, grandmother's, fricassé, grandmother's arroz con pollo, abuela's, carne con papa.
I like arroz con pollo, and I like fricassé, and I love, like, una palomilla.
Una palomilla is fine. But fricas. I was 14, and I said, "Hasta hoy llegó esto." I'm like, I'm not eating this shit anymore. I'm just not. And that's when I started cooking for myself. Wow. Like I will go to my mom to Extra or to Publix, and I'll be like, "Ay, vamos a comprar esta salsita o esta." Whatever.
You started experimenting.
And I started experimenting. It was terrible, but it was what I wanted. It wasn't,
Nobody's born cooking perfectly from the womb, okay?
Listen, I remember
now you're making sauces.
When I thought that like ragu Alfredo sauce was like the shit. And I was like, oh, this is so good.
I mean, I like ragu Alfredo sauce.
No,
I'm not gonna lie. It's not. No. Hold on. I'm not sitting here and telling you that it's great, but you know what? Sometimes you just want.
There is not a single, not one Alfredo like store bought jarred Alfredo that is good. Not one. Not one.
Well, if you think that I'm gonna make Alfredo from scratch,
but it's so easy.
You've never met me.
It's so easy.
It's easier to just pour out of a can.
Okay. Anyway, are we ready for our last soda?
We are ready for last soda. I think, yes, because you've had those very bad Alfredo sauces, so you need soda.
They're terrible.
You need to like refrescar el paladar.
Oh yeah. See, sometimes I remember a while ago I was like making something, I think, for the PTA or something. And I was like, I'm not going to make Alfredo from scratch. I'm just not. So I bought like 3 jars. I forget what brand, but it was one of the better brands of Alfredo sauce. And I remember being here, and when I was about to put it in, and I tasted it, I'm like, nope, I cannot serve this. I was like, it's for like a school function. So I like completely amped it up. I added more cream. I added garlic sauce. I added more parm and pepper, like freshly ground pepper. Like I spruced it up.
I always add things to my Alfredo too. I always put like mushrooms and garlic.
Because I was like, no, I can't present this dish with this sauce. Anyway, okay, wait.
Lord.
It's soda time.
All right, do you want to go first?
I'll go first. So, I'm giving my last soda today. We mentioned earlier in the show that he passed. Yes. Bob Newhart.
Yes.
So, a little bit about Bob Newhart for those of you who don't know. So, Bob Newhart. I mean, you want to talk about iconic? Super iconic. I think he was in his 90s, right?
He was like 94, yeah.
94, 95. Very long career. Funny guy. He had a very, very, very famous show in the 70s called The Bob Newhart Show, where he was a psychiatrist, right?
Yep.
He was a psychiatrist. And then in the 80s, early 90s, he had another show called Newhart. Yep. And I can't say that I grew up watching Bob Newhart. I knew who he was. I knew sort of the importance of it. So I can't say that as a kid I used to watch reruns of the Bob Newhart Show. I mean, the Bob Newhart Show aired way before we were even born, right? I can't say that. But the reason I'm giving it to him is not only is he a television icon and one of these people that now has passed and represents an era of television. I think that if you're somebody who enjoys television and enjoys sitcoms particularly, you should know who Bob Newhart is.
Absolutely.
And Bob Newhart, the way that I know him is from the Newhart Show in the 80s, early 90s. And the ending, the last episode, the last scene of the Newhart Show in the 90s is considered the greatest sitcom ending of all time.
Yeah.
And I remember this was a Saint Elsewhere sort of moment for me. You know how I always tell you that I would always read in like the top, like every single time that I would read a list of all these like prestigious sources of like what are some of the best shows of all time. Saint Elsewhere was there, and I'm like, I'm just gonna watch the freaking thing. And I'm like, once I started watching it, I got it. Even though the show was from the 80s. The same thing happened with the Newhart Show. The last scene of that show, and I think I'm not gonna. You're not gonna spoil it. I'm not gonna spoil it.
It's great.
The last scene of that show is because it is considered the greatest ending of any show ever.
Especially when you think about the time that it took place.
Yeah.
Because this was before spoilers. This was before, you could still pull this off.
You could pull this off. It is something that, like, obviously, I remember when I first saw that, it was years and years after. I think I was in my 30s. I had always heard about the ending and I had read about it, but I had never seen it. And when I saw it, again, not being invested in the show and these characters, because I didn't grow up watching it, I was like, okay, yeah, this is like the greatest ending ever of a show. So for those of you who haven't seen it, go to YouTube and put Newhart final episode, final scene, and you'll see it. And read a little bit about it.
You need context.
So you could get a little bit of context as to what you're seeing on the screen.
Right.
But I mean, you've seen it.
Yeah.
Nothing comes close. Nothing.
The audience reaction alone.
Is genius how that show ended. Genius.
It's brilliant.
So I invite you all, in name of Bob Newhart,
Yes.
in his memory, watch on YouTube Last Scene Newhart Show.
Yeah.
And again, read a little bit about it so you could get context as to what it means.
Yeah, because if not, you see people going crazy about what's happening, and you're
you
like,
don't know.
I don't know why this
Right.
is such a big deal. So you do need a little bit of context.
And you have to know about both
or
shows.
you know what? Or
about the Bob Newhart Show and
I would
the
say
one.
actually watch it first to see how it unfolds, and then read about what
Right.
you're watching. Because I
Right.
think if you read about it before you watch it, it'll give away.
Okay, maybe.
You know what I mean?
But you need a little bit of context. But
Yeah.
it let's just say that both shows that he did, the one from the 70s and then the one from the late 80s, 90s, let's just say you got to know a little bit about those shows.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's genius.
It's absolutely genius.
Genius.
And you couldn't do it today.
No, you couldn't.
You couldn't.
I mean, unless you had like the biggest NDA that all the actors and everybody had to
And
sign.
even still, I don't think you could pull it off. So my last soda. It's funny you said television icon, because my last soda actually is tied to a television icon that we've actually given the last soda to before. So I'm not necessarily giving it to him. LeVar Burton. So
You want to talk about national treasure?
I mean,
What do I always tell you about LeVar Burton? He's been in three of some of the most iconic and pop culturally relevant things.
Yeah.
Roots,
Star Trek,
Star
TNG.
Trek, and Reading Rainbow.
I mean, you can't get more than that. So he was recent. So FX recently had a mini series called Clipped. I don't know if you heard about it. It's about the story of the LA. Oh my God, not the basketball team, not the
The Clippers.
The Clippers. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's why it's called Clipped. I'm sorry, I had a total blank.
I was going for Clippers, but I figured it can be that obvious that you don't remember.
I went totally blank.
No, clearly.
So it's a story of the Clippers and the owner Donald Sterling and his fall from his position. How he was outed as having racist proclivities and things like that with his mistress. It's a whole thing. But what they did in the show is, for the character of Doc, which is the coach of the Clippers, they gave him like someone to kind of talk to, like a best friend character who didn't necessarily exist in real life. And because Lawrence Fishburne was friends with LeVar Burton, they basically cast LeVar Burton because they could get him. So it goes through whatever. And in the last episode, LeVar Burton delivers a speech. And again, he's playing a version of himself. And Doc talks about how when his house was burned down, they suspected it of arson, and he went in and he had a pair of Ali's gloves, and he went in and he rescued them, and he still has them on display everywhere in his house because even though they're torched, he wants people to see that, like, listen, this was an act of vandalism, an act of racism, etc. So LeVar Burton starts talking about how, like, as someone who is, and I've downloaded the speech, I have it on my phone, as someone who, is Kunta Kinte and Star Trek and Reading Rainbow, taught the kids to read and this and that, people always assume that he's quote unquote safe. But what he has in his home, and this is actually true, he's like, when you walk into my home and you're in my living room, you see all my Emmys, and above the Emmys, I have the chains that I wore as Kunta Kinte. Because I never want to forget. It's like, I can't go through life being angry, but I do have that inside of me. And I want people to understand that is part of who I am.
Of course.
And I thought that was so, and again, as I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, well, this is a monologue they created, and it's like, no, he actually has this. Right. They base this on something that he actually has in his home.
Right. So the monologue, he does in fact have that.
He doesn't have the chains, and I just thought it was so powerful. And I've been, this was about maybe over a month ago, and I keep thinking about that speech and that monologue because I just think, I'm not someone who walks around angry all the time, but I do get upset about things, and I started to think, I'm like, what would I hang in my house as like that symbol of, I just need you to understand why this is here, and I can't figure out what it would be, but I just started thinking, like, what would be my symbol, right? Like what would be the thing that when people walk in, they know that I love them and that I'm here for a good time, but I'm not superficial. Like there's more to me. What would that be? And I haven't I don't know what it would be, but that speech has stuck with me, and it's been again about a month now. And I just keep replaying it over and over and over and over and over in my head. And I don't think it would have worked if it had been anyone but LeVar Burton, because there is a truth to what he's saying, which is, I taught your kids to read. We went together on a spaceship. I was, the resilient, black slave who fought, so there's a certain goodwill that he has earned based on his roles. And people sometimes want to just forget that you're not just what they see. There's more to you.
That's interesting.
And so I've been wanting
That's
to give...
an interesting... That's a great story. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I've been wanting to give that last soda for a couple weeks now, and I was actually waiting for you to get back because I felt like you would appreciate it the most.
I did. So you don't know what you would be? Immediately when you said that, I knew what mine would be.
What?
I would probably hang on top a picture of my father in school. You know how in Cuba all the kids used to take like this picture?
Con la pañoleta.
Yes, with the statue of Jose Martin. I would, because my father, and I've said this before, my father is growing up, was to me the smartest person in the world. And I always used to think of how like everybody else's father was, and I don't mean brute in a bad way, but there were mechanics and they were a certain way, and I see like a little bit like the
your dad was
Cuban
learned.
My dad was the sophisticated scholarly,
scholar.
And I always caught that. And the reason I would hang his picture, especially because it's a picture of him in Cuba as a young man, is because my father, because of the revolution, was denied being able to go to college. And I think that for me set me in a completely different stratosphere, because when I was old enough to realize that my dad was a self-taught scholar, and he didn't have that opportunity to do that, that sort of threw me in like, this is what I have to do.
Right.
Remember, I talked about this in my the Cuban Immigrant Foundation video.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was sort of something that for me was like, I want to sort of be the scholar in terms of formal higher education that my father couldn't be.
Right.
And to me, that's a very big part of me. Like higher
it's a huge
education.
Part of you.
It's a very, very, very big part of me. And I think that if maybe things would have been differently with my dad, I wouldn't have maybe taken that course as like drastically as I took it.
Right.
So like immediately when you said that, I thought that.
Yeah. See, I don't know what I would put. I don't. Because I think of several things and then it changes. So I don't know if I could settle on one. You know what I mean?
I think it would probably, I don't know because it's you, but I think it would probably be something not obvious.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
It would probably be something even mundane.
Yeah.
Because I think that somebody who doesn't know you as well may say, oh, maybe an action hero or something.
Right.
Because that's a very big part of you, right?
Yeah, but that's
of
not
your identity. But I know it wouldn't be that. It would be something else that like would be, I don't know what it would be, because that's obviously something that's
right.
like beyond personal, but I know what it wouldn't be.
It wouldn't be the quote unquote obvious choice.
I know it would not be the obvious choice. I know it would be something that'd be like,
yeah.
Oh, there we go. El destornillador de tu abuelo.
Actually, yeah. Actually, you know what? That probably...
That's a great word.
Such a great word.
Destornillador. Just screw in English, but in Spanish, destornillador. De plano o de tría.
Oh. I am surprised that they didn't just translate Philip.
El taladro.
Taladro is such a great word. Oh my God, taladro, you know what you're getting.
Yo.
That thing is causing destruction.
With un taladro.
Right, but a drill. Drill. A drill can be tiny. It can, get oil.
And the thing about destornillador, there's not another word for it.
No, you're right.
Or a shorter word for it.
No.
It's like, tráeme destornillador.
Yeah, it's a calcomanía for sure.
Yeah, that's like one of my favorite words in Spanish is portarretrato.
We've had this conversation a couple times, and I think you and I should put together like a book.
Portarretrato. To say, I'm putting my picture in a frame. No, yo voy a poner mi foto en un portarretrato.
You know, we should.
Mira
we should
cuántos
do a collection of those.
portarretratos tenemos.
We should do like a collection of reels and like a series.
Y mal, fuiste a comprar un portarretrato. Compré muchos portarretratos en marcha.
And scene, because once you're getting the portarretrato en marcha, that's it, you're done.
Y también tenían en venta una caja de destornilladores. Planos y de estrías.
Estúpido.
Did I say anything that's incorrect?
Not even a little bit. Not even a smidge.
That's like, I love that in Spanish. In English, it's basil. In Spanish, it's albahaca.
Oh, that's what albahaca is?
Yes.
I didn't know it was basil.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, for the longest time, I thought manzanilla was made of apples.
For the Spanish, longest time, I thought that rosemary was romari. It's romero. It's like, you mean to tell me that in Spanish it's not romari? Romeri.
Rosa Maria.
Or romeri, no es romero.
Romero. Somebody was asleep at the wheel on that one.
Anyway, I think we should end on that note.
I mean, Romeri.
Anyway, everybody, we hope this was a good episode. We hope everybody listened, laughed, and learned. And as always, remember to grab your croqueta, your pastelito, and your cafecito. And thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Have a great weekend. See you next week.
Yes, cuídense, mi gente.
Bye.
Pero Let Me Tell You is co-hosted by Darian Borges and Ismaeliano, produced by Ismaeliano, and our theme, Pero Let Me Tell You Freestyle, is composed by Michael Angelo Lomlaplex, the official gay guy. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes.